This video is going to cover solving equation word problems, and there are two basic different kinds of problems that I want to talk about. I have exactly the same situation here in both of these problems. Jackie made a deposit to her bank account. Before the deposit, she had $1,000 in the account, and after the deposit, she had $1,200. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here, but we have two different questions that we can ask about this situation. On the left, which equation could be used to find the amount of the deposit? And it tells us that we're using the variable D for that deposit. So we've got these four equations that we could use. We need to choose from one of them. On the right, the question is, what was the amount of the deposit? So in the right example, we're being asked for the ultimate answer in terms of dollars. But on the left, we're being asked for an equation that would help us find that amount. So I want to talk about solving both of these. Let's take a look at method one. The method that they are suggesting that you use, they're kind of expecting you to use, is to translate the problem into an equation. And then step two would be to solve, if needed, if they're asking for an answer, or match up the multiple choice equation options to the one that you have. The problem with this is that the one that you come up with might be exactly right, but it may not look like it matches any of those. So let me explain how that can happen. So in this situation, we might come up with the equation that we started with $1,000 and we added our deposit D, and that then equaled the $1,200. And that's a correct equation, but there are different versions of this equation that you might have come up with. The first might be that you start with the 1,200 on the left, and you say that that's equal to 1,000 plus D. Same thing, but looks a little bit different. We could also say that the deposit would be equal to 1,200 minus 1,000. That would also be true. We could also say that 1,000 would be equal to 1,200 minus D. These are all variations of the same correct equation, and you don't know which one is going to appear in the list. So you may have to do some algebra, rearranging, subtracting D from both sides, subtracting 1,000 from both sides, just rearranging using algebra to come up with a match. All right. And that's one reason why you might want to use method two. In method two, you figure out the numerical answer just using logic. In simpler word problems, you can sort of figure out the answer by just reading through it and applying the logic. So in this case, if we started out with 1,000 and we ended up with 1,200, then we must have deposited $200, right? So then we look at these equations and we check to see which one would produce the answer of $200. In other words, if we put 200 in for the variable D, which one would it make true? If we multiplied 1,000 and 1,200, we're going to get a really big number, so it's not that one. If we took 200 and added it to 1,200, we're not going to get 1,000, so B is out. Let's move down to D. If I subtract 200 from 1,000, I'm going to get 800, not 1,200, so that's not true. And that leaves us with answer C. Sure enough, 1,200 is equal to 1,000 plus 200. And that's how we could choose that as our answer. So in simpler word problems, you can sort of use logic, find the answer, and then find the equation that matches that answer. The third method, if you're given equations to choose from, as in that first kind of problem, would be to solve each equation for the variable. Actually go through the math and figure out what D would be in each one of these examples, and then use your intuition to pick the most reasonable answer. If I were to do that for these, we will get this as our first answer. It's probably not 1.2 million. For B, I would subtract 1,200 from both sides, and that would give me D is equal to minus 200. I didn't make a negative deposit, so that doesn't make any sense. In C, I would subtract 1,000 from both sides. That would give me D equals 200. And for option D, I would subtract 1,000 from both sides. That gives me 200 is equal to negative D. I would need to do some additional algebra here by multiplying both sides by -1. And that would again say D is equal to negative 200. So that gets us to the correct answer as well. All right, let's go through a couple of example problems. Very similar problem on the left. Jackie made a deposit. The numbers are slightly different. Before the deposit, she had $1,200. After the deposit, she had $1,450. Which equation could be used to find the amount of the deposit? We can see that the difference between these two numbers is 250. So we know that that's the answer for the amount of the deposit. And now we are looking for which one of these answers would give us the 250. 250 plus 1,450 is going to be a larger number than 1,200. We know that multiplying those two numbers together is not correct. Looking at D, 1,200 minus 250 is going to give us a smaller number, 950. So that's not correct. That leaves us with answer C. 1,450 equals 1,200 plus 250. Yes, that is correct. So that's a pretty simple problem. This one on the right is a little bit more complicated. Your brother is 10 years less than twice your age. Your brother is 30. Which expression could be used to figure out your age? So this is where we need to get a little bit deeper into the logic. Brother is 10 years less than twice your age. So if we undo the 10 years, 40 years must be twice our age. And then we divide that by 2, and we get 20. And then we go back and sort of check. Does that make sense? If I'm 20 and my brother is 10 years less than twice my age, twice 20 is 40, minus 10. Yeah, that seems to work. The math expression they're looking for you to use is 2x minus 10, twice the age, and then subtract 10. So let's look at these and see which one would work with an answer of 20. 10 times 20 plus 2. That's going to be 202. That's not equal to 30. Answer B, 2 times 20, which is 40, minus 10. That equals 30. That seems to work. So let's go on and check some of the others. C, 1/2 of 20 plus 10. 1/2 of 20 is 10. 10 plus 10 is only 20. It's not 30. So we'll cross that one out. We already crossed this one out. And option D, 20 plus 10 is 30. Times 2 is 60. 60 is not equal to 30. So answer B seems to make sense. And this is the equation that they were kind of expecting you to draw out of this if you were going to solve it the equation way. 2x minus 10 equals 30. And then we could solve that for x, and we would get x equals 20. All right, I hope that's helpful in terms of different ways of approaching these equation word problems. Good luck with your practice.